Hey, everyone, and welcome to the Mark Prater podcast, where our aim is to connect our global family of churches with our executive director. Mark, guys that saw the podcast last week know that you were in Ethiopia last week. On the pod, you interviewed some of the students at the pastor's college, but you were teaching at that pastor's college and also spending time with the church there in Ethiopia. What was your experience like?
It was a wonderful experience, not only to be with the men that if you watch last week's podcast that you saw and heard from some of them. We just connected well relationally, had good theological conversation, and I just grew to both respect and love them. I miss them already.
Mm,
But I thought it'd be good just for everyone that listens to this podcast and prays for our mission in Sovereign Grace,
yeah.
just to understand why that pastor's college is so important being in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Addis Ababa, Ethiopia is a city of about 10 million people. It's a huge city. And if you're going to fly somewhere in Africa, typically you're going to fly through Addis Ababa, given the size of the airport. So that's a reason why it's so strategic. Additionally, the African Union is based there in Addis Ababa,
Mm,
Ethiopia. Josh Pinnell actually drove me by the building. It's a huge building. Also, I didn't know this. It is the second largest city, or the second city in the world that has the most embassies from other countries, second to Washington, D.C.
oh,
So
interesting.
there's just a number of embassies from other nations there, especially nations in Africa. The point being is that it seems that if you're going to reach Africa, it's going to be through Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, because of
Mm,
its strategic city. Also, their current prime minister is a Christian. Actually, seems to be a
wow.
genuine Christian, and has real vision not only for Ethiopia but for all of Africa. So there's his influence at this point in time. And Addis Ababa is a strategic city, not only to reach East Africa with the gospel, I believe the entire continent with the gospel.
Yeah. Excellent. So it is wonderful to see see what's developing there. Humanly speaking, through the efforts of Josh and Michael and the other pastors there. Certainly, we attribute it all to God's activity and His glory. The latest Sovereign Grace missions video was just released about Ethiopia. I found it very encouraging. We're actually showing it at church tomorrow morning.
Mm.
We're showing the church. When you think about what God's doing there, what are your hopes for the pastor's college, for that church, and what is potentially in the future there in Ethiopia?
My hopes and my prayers for Ethiopia are really fueled by Michael Granger's vision,
Mm,
Josh Pinnell's vision for Ethiopia and Addis Ababa, and then from there again reaching East Africa and possibly the entire continent. So, as I was talking with Michael when I was there, his vision is to plant five churches in the next, or excuse me, five churches in the next 10 years. Yes.
mm,
And to plant those in different parts of Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. In fact, we were talking about certain sections of the city as I got where he could plant. As I got to know some of the students, we were talking about which students could possibly plant together, those kind of things. And that's just an important part of our strategy, I think, to reach the lost with the gospel, not only in Ethiopia, but East Africa and throughout the continent. Because from Addis Ababa, you can plant other churches. So that's just
mm,
one of the things that why that pastor's college is so important and so strategic with those men. The men that you saw in that video last week, or you heard from last week, they're the future of Sovereign Grace in East
yes.
Africa and maybe beyond East Africa. So pray for those men. If you
Yeah.
didn't look at that podcast or listen to it, I'd encourage you to go back and listen to it. The other thing that we talked about quite a bit was developing gospel-centered resources in Amharic, which is the native language there.
Right.
Many read English, many understand English, but it'll be more effective if the resources are written in Amharic, and then sent out throughout Ethiopia. So
Yeah.
we just talked a bit about that and why producing resources is important. In fact, just last year, Michael Granger produced a book on gospel centrality, essentially, that he's using now, and I think a first step in strategically publishing mission related and church based publications that will, again, help us advance the gospel in East Africa and maybe the rest of the continent.
Excellent. It's inspiring to hear that vision and that godly ambition for the glory of Christ to be spread throughout Africa that God has put in those men. So, Josh and Michael, we thank God for you and your example. And Mark, thank you for your thoughts. And thank you all for watching or reading. We'll see you here next week, Lord willing. Bye for now.
Thank you for watching. If you have questions or comments, Mark would love to hear from you. For more videos like this, hit subscribe on YouTube or by email at markkprater.com.